The Beholder Activist. We have been speaking the last few times of realities, of dimensions, what you make for yourself as the sandboxes to play in. We have been speaking how this reality, small r, is but one of the sandboxes that you make to play in. It is one where you build the sandcastles. And then when you have built as much as you want of the sandcastle, you have a choice to knock it over and to build another one of different design for the fun of it, just for the creative fun of it. We have been speaking of how you have made for yourself concepts and boxes within this reality, boxes with labels, where you have felt as a collective consciousness there was a certainty, a security within the box, and yet at the same time you wanted to push out the sides of the boxes because you felt that there must be something more. We spoke of the different dimensional perspectives that you have had through eons of time, with first dimensional consciousness being just that of existence, of having the physical body, the vehicle to express within the physical laws which you have collectively designed and agreed upon, just of keeping the body alive, whatever form of body it was. In what you would see as linear time, in the earliest of times the bodies were not the humanoid that you know now, but they were different forms, because you wanted to play with different forms to see what it would feel like to have the very large or small form, or to feel what it would be like to swim in the ocean or to fly. You experimented with different forms. You have your mythology which has come down to you of the half-human and half-animal, and you have said, well, that couldn't be. How could that ever? Well, that wouldn't be. Animals are beneath humans. So how would there ever be form where there would be a half-human, half-animal? And yet you played with those forms because you wanted to know, how would it feel? The mythology speaks to you of truth, capital T, of the creative nature of you. Animals are not beneath you. Animals are a living form. No matter what the form is, there is a divine spark of spirit which activates that form. You played with first-dimensional perspective and came unto a certain evolution, over which you would see to be a very long time. And yet as you had measured against all of eternity as a snap of the fingers, you came to the second-dimensional perspective by a gradual evolution. It was a gradual change in perspective to a place where there was a bit more of the gathering of humans together and attending, if you will, of the other forms of life. You have in your scriptures, because it was written as the thinking of the day, where God gave man and woman dominion over the animals of the field. Well, that was the thinking of that time. Second-dimensional perspective had to do with existence yet, but a little bit more of the collective grouping together and what could be done as a group. The consciousness evolved, again with a little more of the complexity of groupings, realizing that the group depended on each other, working together as one village, tribe, and grouping. Yet because there was a belief in separation, there was the feeling that a village, a tribe, had to be defended against another group that might appear on the horizon. Then there was an evolution of perspective bringing you into third-dimensional perspective, which is where most of the collective consciousness has been for some time now, as you measure again the linear time. Third-dimensional perspective has much more complexity to it. There is still the belief in separation. There is still the belief in the necessity for preservation of the physical vehicle, the body. But you have taken it to a place where there is much more of the complexity, where you can try to do manipulation for your own defense at what would be a safe distance, where you have played with the manipulation of power. This also was known in second-dimensional perspective as it evolved into third. There was much of the manipulation of temporal power. Third-dimensional thinking has much to do again with separation, the need for defense or offense, and the manipulation of worldly power. But you are coming now to a place where you have been seeing that the sandcastle and the sandbox does not satisfy. It can be quite beautiful. Some of the times you have been the leaders, the kings, the queens, the ones who have wielded much power seemingly over others, where you have been the president or prime ministers or whatever the labeling would be of the grouping, where you have had vast troops at your disposal who could do your bidding, and you sat safely somewhere at the distance. You have seen that it did not fulfill and did not answer the very deep questions within you as to the purpose of life. There must be something more. The still small voice is always asking, always motivating. So you have looked at the sandcastle from all sides. You have been the king, the queen, the prime minister, the ones who ruled. You have been the ones who were ruled, the ones who were the troops, the ones who were the servants, the ones who did the bidding of others who seemingly had more power. You played your scripts very well, with all the nuances over and over, until you come to a place where you have said, I'm complete with that sandcastle. I know what it looks like from the outside. I know what it looks like from the inside. I know what it looks like from the perspective of looking down at it. I'm finished with that one. I want to know truly what is sand. You come to a very basic question. That is where collective consciousness is now in its evolution, standing upon the threshold of completion with a certain sandcastle. You see much of conflict. It is brought to you on your airways, your television, your news media, your papers, even on the World Wide Web. There is information that comes to you of conflict and completion. Count it all as good, even though it does not look to be good. It is working to bring ones who are involved in whatever is going on to a place where they are finished with the sandcastle. They are going to say, okay, I've built everything out of the sand in the sandbox, and there must be a greater purpose than just building sandcastles. You are moving now into a place of fourth-dimensional perspective. You call upon that truly and every day. That is where you ask for the holy vision. That is where you ask to see the greater picture of what is going on, where you have intuition which tells you that there is much more than just what the news media brings you. The little blurb or 2 or 3 sentences that they give you about happening, you wonder, what is beyond that? What is the motivation? The ones who were doing whatever the event was, what was their motivation? What were they like as children? How were they molded in their grown-up years? Even if you see them as the teenage ones who are taking up arms and behaving as though they were the graybeards, what was their molding and how did they start out? Why do they see it necessary to do whatever choices they are doing? So you ask those questions in fourth-dimensional questioning and you wait for an answer. The answer comes through in the quiet times, perhaps as you are going about your daily activity of driving the vehicle, washing the dishes, taking a shower, whatever. The answer comes to that there must be much more than what is happening here. You move into a place of fifth-dimensional perspective where you do indeed have a holy vision, where you do indeed see that threads, seemingly separate, are being woven together in a beautiful tapestry, into a beautiful place of the completion where ones will lay down their swords, where ones will lay down all the great and grandiose plans for ruling and will say, "You are my sister, you are my brother. Surely we can live together in harmony." There must be a way because we have tried all the other sandcastles and they have not brought us fulfillment. You sometimes stay in fifth-dimensional consciousness for a moment or so, sometimes for a bit longer as to the length of the meditation, as to the length of what you are willing to contemplate. You get a glimpse of something much larger than just third-dimensional density, separation, need for defense, and vulnerability. You come to the place where you realize that the spirit which I am cannot be threatened. The body, yes, can be asked of me and I can release it, but the spirit of me cannot be threatened. It is from before time, and it will continue after the purpose of time has been completed. It will continue in its expansion to create, to experience, to express. The realization brings to a certain place of peace within, that no matter what else is going on around you, and there may be much of chaos going on around you, the spirit of you needs no defense. The spirit of you have always been and will forever be. That gives you pause to breathe the divine breath of the connection with your oneness with the Father, Mother, God, Goddess, all it is. It gives to you new perspective as to what you have to do with third-dimensional activities. You are at a most wonderful place now where you are bridging third-dimensional perspective because you understand world perspective. You know what the brothers and sisters are feeling. You have been there. You have felt it yourself. And there are many times when you cry unto the heavens and you would like something changed. Then you take the deep breath and you bridge the fifth dimension for a moment or so into the divine peace of allness. You are doing much that helps in the evolution of the collective consciousness. As an entity, the collective consciousness has a soul, and that soul is crying out for healing, the same as individual souls are crying out for healing. The collective consciousness is at a place now where it is ready to entertain a new perspective. Those of you who are willing as you are to be complete with the old sandcastles and to move on to the bigger questions as to what is sand? What is this box I think I'm in? Perhaps it isn't a box at all. I thought it was a sandbox, but where are the boundaries? Where are the edges? As you are willing to play with these questions, you affect all the collective consciousness because there is no separation. What you do goes out and touches other ones. You have seen this as you have been with a friend who has been struggling with a problem, and they have asked you for help. You may not know the specific answer to whatever their problem is, but you have known that there is an answer. And sometimes when ones are so close up against a problem, They cannot see that there even would be an answer. They feel like everything is coming down on top of them and there is no way out, no hope. You sit with them and say, well, I don't know exactly what the answer is, but I know there's an answer. I know that it is not quite as dark and as heavy as you've perceived it to be. With that small mustard seed of hope, you have changed the vibration that the other one was in. With that small bit of new perspective, a shift, and it is a shift. You have given to them a vibrational upliftment. It gives them a new vibrational quality which then moves them into a space where they can entertain ideas of change. As you are abiding as the bridge between third-dimensional thinking, which you know so well, and fifth-dimensional freedom, you find yourself more and more in the place of the beholder. The place where you can see and understand the third dimension is all about. You know it very well. You have played the scripting over and over and over and over. And when you are not actively playing the script, you are in the wings waiting for the next time you would be on the stage. So you know third-dimensional thinking very well, but you are now spending more and more of your time in the fifth-dimensional perspective, in a place that knows hope, that knows holy vision, and you see with greater clarity how everything works together to bring out the divinity which has been forgotten for so long. As you are in the place of the beholder, ideas come to you which then bring back and to put into action third-dimensional perspective, because you have a wider vision, a greater understanding of how things fit together. You become the beholder activist, which sounds like a contradiction, and yet it is not. Because you come from the place of beholder, where you ask for the holy vision, and then you bring the ideas from that place and you put them into action in the third dimension, as in giving to another one the words of advice, encouragement, as in rising up and speaking your truth. In the months to come, there will be many actors playing the scripts upon the stage. You will envision from fifth-dimensional perspective that which you know can be, which will allow you to speak your truth, and to be the activist in third dimension, to come together with others of like mind and to speak out for what you believe and what you know can be, and for what you know will be, because there will be evolution of consciousness. That is a given. The timing of it is up to improv. That is up to the 100th monkey concept, where all of a sudden there is a shift that does happen in the evolution because enough of the collective consciousness has gotten it. With your perspective from fifth dimension, from holy vision, from the place that knows divine clarity, you work in third dimension. That is why truly you have taken incarnation at this time, to be the beholder activist, to bring a new perspective to this place which is crying out for the evolutionary leap. The harvest is ready. It has seemed in times past that the harvest was aplenty, but the harvesters were few. But you are meeting more and more ones who are ready to help with the harvesting, the evolution of collective consciousness into a new perspective. You have agreed that you will come together once again, and you will write on your web, you will write on your papyrus, your paper, that which needs to be written. You will make the telephone calls and you will speak your truth one-to-one in groups. You know the evolution of collective consciousness into fifth dimension is going to be. It is going to happen. You can take heart from that. Some of you have been hoping, desiring, praying, and then at some time thinking, but not in my lifetime, and yet you are very, very close. The veil is growing thinner all the time, and there are more and more of ones such as you, of like mind, who are complete with the most intricate sandcastle. Now you are asking, what is sand? You come from a place where there is allowance for ones to do their completion. You understand that, but at the same time that does not keep you mute. You give hope. You give vision. You put it out there in front of the ones who are right on the verge of knowing their completion and wondering, where do I go from here? Do I go back to what I have always known, or do I go forward? They do not even put that question to words. It's not even verbalized. Then you come along and you say, I have this vision. I know it will be where ones will live in harmony, will respect each other, because we are of the same Creator, of the same life principle. We are alive. If you can find no other common denominator, you can find that you are alive, right? You come along, and as the beholder, you bring into third-dimensional consciousness a new perspective. Now, just because you love the other ones, which you do, and you recognize their divinity and you respect what they are completing, it does not mean that you have to be mute. It does not mean that you have to go off and take yourself to a monastery somewhere, which you have done previously in other lifetimes. or to take yourself to a cave way up in the mountain somewhere, and then commune with the divine masters as you have done in other lifetimes. This lifetime, you have agreed to be the beholder activist. It is one of the more challenging roles to play because separated ego is going to say to you, "You'd better not say that. You've tried that before, and what happened? You were burned at the stake. What happened before? The head was asked of you." The separated ego is also going to say, "What right do you have to suggest such an idea, that there could be harmony? Ones have always lived in groupings that had to defend themselves. It's always been that way. There's always been a leader, someone who would guide us, tell us where to go. What happens if we live in harmony and equality? Who's going to tell me what to do? Where is my security?" So separated ego is going to give you a listing of all kinds of problems, challenges, threats, and warnings. That's okay. You take those questionings and warnings to a place of fifth dimensional perspective, and you breathe and you say, "That which has been." But that does not mean it goes into the next moment. You are free right now of all past baggage. You are free right now of old past belief systems and self-images and image of what others and what the world had to be. If you will claim that freedom right now, beloved one, and you do, you are free, completely free. We have spoken that there is going to be much of a shift of change, some of the wings of the sandcastle collapsing. Count it all as good. Know that the old sandcastles have to come down before the new ones can ever be contemplated, before the new ones can even be thought. Allow yourself to expect change. Allow yourself to welcome change. Allow yourself to be in that place of readiness that goes immediately to fifth dimensional perspective anytime anything new comes to you. Take the deep breath and go to the place of holy vision. Then as you are guided, come back to this place that yet believes in a certain paradigm of collective belief and become the activist with a new perspective. That is what is being asked of you. Now it is time. You will find yourself busier than ever and yet at peace, a very peaceful place of fifth dimension, being the beholder and yet being the activist. Not to sit as the hermit, you have done that, but to read, to write, to speak, to act. And it does not have to be in holy words. In fact, if you are to speak sometimes with scriptural passages, ones will be at a place of closing their doors, the doors of the ears and heart. If you speak to them in a language which they understand, and they look to you and they relate, there is much of commonality and oneness that comes forth, and that, beloved one, is healing and evolutionary. I would do with you again a meditation. I would do with you now what is called a coming to a place of peace. So allow yourself to take a deep breath and bring to mind something that has happened, either in the past 24 hours or longer if you want to go back further, where there has been something that you would like to understand better, perhaps something that your news media has brought to you, perhaps something that a friend has said to you, perhaps something that the body has said to you. Allow yourself to bring to mind something that has been a question mark, perhaps a piece of information that you have read and you have wondered, is this true? And if this is true, what happens now? Bring that to mind. Taking another deep breath, expand the mind into the place of the beholder, that place which is peaceful and open, willing and ready to receive, willing and ready to see expanded understanding. Look upon what you have been contemplating and see if there is energy to it. See if there are colors that dance around with it. See if there is a path that leads from it, and where does that path go? Sit with that question and ask of it as you would a master. What is your message? Breathing deeply and easily, allowing that question as a master to speak to you, to have a dialogue and to ask, what more is there to know? Is there something that I need to do? Is there something that I need to understand? Listen. Feel. What is the feeling? What is the path that it shows you? Watch. Receive. When you feel complete, you may take your time with this. When you feel complete, allow yourself the deep breath to re-energize the body very slowly, very gently, bringing the information, the feeling, the visioning with you. If there is more that you would know about this, know that at any time you can come to this place and ask more. And now, take that deep breath. Allow yourself to gently come back to this perspective, this reality that you call real, small r. Bringing with you that sense of peace, that bit of information, whatever was given to you. Know that in that short time there was much that you touched upon, and you are not the same as you were before you went into that space. That space is available to you at any time. Many of you know it well. because many of you have pushed to the place where you felt you were in a corner and there could be no further backing up. You were against the rock in the hard place, and you had to stop, to breathe, to ask to go within. Just when you thought that there was no more help which could come to you, because you have prayed and you'd hoped in that moment a sense of divine peace descended upon you, and it changed everything. Then, as it will direct you, you take action. If you do not need to take action, then you abide for a while. Beloved one, remember that space which is very expansive. Remember to go there often, for there are changes at hand, very good ones that you do not hear about on your news media, because it loves to play up the drama that seems to be the most tantalizing. But there is much at hand that is happening. You will see shifts that will be happening very soon as I measure time, and perhaps sooner. In other words, I have heard it said that my time is a bit slow. Maybe it will fit in with your time. There are changes that are coming, and they will ask of you, because you will ask of it yourself, to be the beholder activist, to go to that place of holy vision, and then from that place of understanding to be the activist, to help along the evolution of collective consciousness with your new vision. So be it.